what happens if you do not have the money to pay your taxes on time? And if you think that this is very uncommon, well, actually it isn't, because most of the times you have to pay taxes in advance. Basically, you need to pay tax on income you didn't even make. And if you think that is unfair, well, it is. However, you are required to comply with that because it's the law and the tax office knows that. And if you file a return, it's very easy to get caught. So what happens? What can you do? So first of all, a deadline is basically a date after which the small fines and penalties applies. So the first small fine is 0.1% of any amount due if you pay within 15 days. So if you pay in 10 days after, it's 1%. If you pay on the 15th day, it's 1.5%. So if you owe 100 euros, you pay 101 euros and 50 cents. If you go over within the 90 days, you pay 1.67% flat. So once again, you owe 100 euros, well, then you owe 101.67 euros 67 cents. And finally, until the next tax return is due, any tax paid is 3.75% fine. Well, it's not nice to pay fines. However, you can always pay in installments. So whatever income tax you pay, this is not valid for VAT, but income tax you pay in installments. Or if you cannot make a full payment, at least try to do a partial payment on time. This will reduce your outstanding bill, meaning you have fewer taxes you pay and you have fewer fines that are applicable to yourself. However, if you constantly do not have the money to pay taxes, I think you should ask yourself a few questions. So the first one is, what is wrong with my cash flow? Taxes are on a cash basis, but income it isn't. So if income accrues, you have paid tax on that, but you don't collect income, I would ask myself, how can I do that? So how do you cash the actual money to pay taxes? This is a really big problem. The second, do you talk to your accountant about prepayments? Like, as you know, prepayments, they can match your future tax liability. And sometimes if your business shrinks, you are not required to pay the full prepayments, which means you have to pay fewer taxes ahead. This is also good. And finally, this is the biggest question you have to ask yourself is, am I doing my business right? Like, do I have the right incorporation? Am I taking advantage of every single tax break? Am I leaving some tax money behind? You have to know that there are multiple possibilities to be savvy and save money on your taxes, and you must make sure to take every possible deductible item against income or against tax valid, because this not only will lower your tax burden, but will also lower your future tax payment. And finally, do you need a rehaul of your overall business? Think about that. Are you self-employed or are you incorporated as a business? Which way is more efficient on your side? And that's something you have to work on with your accountant.